I am Lisa Kurtley with Screen Innovations. Today we're going to review our projection screens. I'll just touch on that because I know the shade line is what the folks at Smarter Systems really wanted us to focus on today. So again, I'm Lisa Kurtley. I'm the National Sales Manager here for Screen Innovations. For those of you who don't know us, Screen Innovations is a projection screen and window shading company. We started life back in 2003 on the residential side. So we still have a really big residential presence. Of course, myself, our commercial team, all of our AV integrators like the great guys at Smarter Systems work directly as a commercial branded company. So while we do still have residential, everything you're going to see today is really focused on our commercial market and how we can really help you guys. We are known for ambient light rejection. So what you're seeing on this picture, I love this picture, is the first and only screen that I'm aware of that's in outer space. This is the International Space Station. So NASA contacted us a few years ago and, wanted to be able to have something that was lightweight, but was big enough so that when the astronauts were up there for weeks and months at a time, they didn't just have to look at their families and their, football games or whatever they were doing, on a little tiny laptop screen. So I just love this, but we really are known for our ambient light rejecting materials. So I think you can see here, I didn't realize I've been in the broadcast industry and AV side of the business for over 25 years, and I just didn't realize that screens could look like an LCD screen. So the goal today really though is to just quickly talk on that and then get to the shade line. But I really just want to make sure that you guys are familiar with all the different materials out there. Of course, we have standard white and gray materials, as well as our ambient light rejecting materials and a couple cool rear projection materials as well. So I'm just going to kind of breeze through those quickly. Again, the folks at Smarter Systems have sold a ton of our stuff. So any questions you have, they will be an amazing resource for you. As far as our standard pure white and pure gray and neutral unity materials, the big thing to really notice and what I want to focus on today is how we're different than some of the other screen guys out there. Even our white and gray screens, all of our materials are what we call a pure material, which means it's a proprietary micro texture. It's 9 times finer and smoother than anything else out there. So if you're looking for a video wall replacement or something that's just a little bit bigger than an LCD even, you can get really smooth and beautiful pictures. Whatever resolution you shoot at it is what you're going to get back. I know it's kind of hard to tell on a Teams call, but this just kind of gives you an idea of what a pure screen and some of the other materials out there look like. It's important because when you're shooting projection onto something, the smoother and more beautiful you're projecting onto, the better image. Any little imperfection, you'll be able to see it. So just know that besides our amazing ambient light rejecting materials, we do have just standard white and grays that are a little cut above everyone else. Why ambient light rejection? You can see from this little demo that we have here. This is a piece of our black diamond material. That's our optical based material, just being held up in a boardroom, a classroom, wherever you might want to do presentations up against even one of our white screens. It just goes to show you that having the same projector, the same lighting environment, simply swapping out the screen can make a world of difference in your picture quality, your contrast, your brightness. There are other ambient light rejecting materials on the market. We do have a patented process for all of our ALR screens where we reject light both horizontally and vertically. So it is the most superior products out there. There's a myriad of options. We have our black diamond, which is our optical based kind of semi-rigid material. We also have an ultra short throw lenticular option, and then we have our surface reflecting materials as well. So if you have a highly lit space and you want to do projection, you need a cost-effective solution, we have a lot of options for you on that. As far as rear projection, I know it's not quite as prolific as it was years ago, but I did want to point out our flex glass material. Flex glass is beautiful because while it is flexible, it's rigid, but it's not fragile. So many of the rear projection glasses out there are so fragile that, if you just hit it with something or bump into it, you can shatter the whole thing. So flex glass is just a really great option to be able to do LED or OLED style curves or circles. I'll just play this little video. This was a customer who wanted to do a circular trade show sign for their booth. They didn't have budget for LED. They didn't have budget for OLED, and they didn't have a huge rear projection space. So another great thing about flex glass is, besides the full edge blending that you can see here, the ALR properties that it has in a brightly lit room, you also don't have any hot spotting, which means you can do ultra short throw projectors and you don't have to have all that real estate that you used to have for rear projection. So again, if you've got a customer or a client that needs something like this, it can be a really great cost-effective solution for you versus LED or OLED. And you'll see at this wide shot, amazing ambient light rejecting properties as well. A couple of other materials we have for rear projection is our black diamond film. Black diamond film is similar to the material, meaning it has all those great optics on it, but we've actually put it on a film format. So it's meant to be applied to glass or acrylic. So you can see here, this is just a piece of acrylic, but even in a brightly lit trade show floor, it makes a beautiful picture daytime or nighttime. We see this everything from retail environments. Nowadays, I feel like there are so many corporate areas where you have, glass walled conference rooms or places where you just can't hang a monitor. So it's a great way to do projection with just a piece of film. So, and of course, as you can see, it's beautiful because it's ambient light rejected. Last material real quick is our 360 material. If you have a scenario where you need to be able to see the image clearly from both sides or walk 360 around it, we see museums, sports bars, conference areas, lobbies, anywhere where you want to just do some sort of digital signage, it can be a great option. It can be rear or front projected. And again, you have a near identical image on both sides. So that is the material lineup. I'll quickly run through just the line of actual screens that we have. So of course we have motorized screens. The 3 and 5 series are going to kind of be that traditional boardroom classroom screen. We do have a cable crawling version. If you don't want to see all that black drop at the top of a screen, you can hang these from cables. And then we have our Solo Pro 2, which is a little bit more of a contemporary design. So I'll just run through those real quick. But before we get started, there's a big difference between our motorized screens and others out there that I wanted to talk to you about. The technology that goes into designing these is a patented technology that only SI offers. The first thing is going to be the fact that the tab tensioned screens, people don't like tab tension screens. They don't want to see the tabs. They don't want them falling off. They don't really hold up over time. So we wanted to alleviate that. And we did so by creating a patented laser cut technology. So these tabs are not plastic or welded on pieces of materials. It is one seamless piece of material, and the tabs are simply just laser cut right out of that. So it's important that you don't have to worry about tabs and things falling off for longevity. But the bigger thing that I love about it is when you roll that screen up, motorized screens are up in the pocket most of the time. If you have something attached on the outside, when you roll that screen up, it creates bulk. So the roll is not sitting uniformly in there. It's a lot thicker on the ends and thinner in the middle. So when it's sitting up in that case, it just stretches and it changes the shape of your screen. So if you've ever been in a room and you see a really big hourglass shaped screen, that's because when the screen's rolled up, it's not maintaining that uniform roll and it's just stretching. So this is again, a patented feature only from us, but really speaks to longevity. The last thing to really talk about is the borders itself. We've all been in a boardroom or a classroom where we hear the screen coming down, before you see it. That's the black drop. It's usually sprayed or painted on, and over time it can crack and get sticky or smear. We have alleviated that by having a patented printing process. So our screens have a micro thin layer of ink that is printed on them. So it will never get sticky or crack or degrade. So just a couple technology pieces. I think people don't often think of technology when they think of a projection screen, but we really have thought about not only the end user, but the longevity and how beautiful that screen's going to look. So the 3 and 5 series are just kind of, again, that traditional boardroom classroom screen. The 0G, this is our cable crawling screen. I know it's kind of hard to see, but you have beautiful cables here. Maybe in this scenario where they don't want a bunch of black drop here and they've got a long way for it to go before you get to the viewing image that you want to see. So if you've ever seen these or been around one deploying up and down, you'll notice that generally they are massive cases. They have a really loud motor because of the way it's designed. SI, in typical innovative fashion, we have come up with a super simplistic design. The only thing that comes down out of that small little case is a little motorized roller. and the screen material is just rolled up on that. So you have the ability to have up to 15 feet, 8 inches of drop here. We also use a parachute style cording instead of a metal cable. So you can really camouflage that for whatever your background is. And because it's a parachute style cord, it's low profile, but it's very heavy duty. And because it's a cording, it's available in multiple colors. So that's the 0G. That is our levitating cable crawling screen. I think it's just a really amazing solution. If you are looking for something, again, that's a little more contemporary, we also have our Solo Pro 2 line. This is going to be a really slim designed contemporary case. So if the screen itself is going to go into an environment where you just don't want that kind of traditional boardroom classroom look, you can select our Solo screens. There are fly kits for these. So you can certainly mount them to the ceiling or the wall, but you can also fly these for a really beautiful look where, again, you don't have to showcase all the black drop and you can have it be part of the aesthetically pleasing area that you're in. We do our own custom powder coating. So our standard 12 colors are what you're seeing here, but of course we can custom powder coat to match branding guidelines or a logo color or something like that. So that's really the motorized line, the standard 3 and 5 series, the 0G or the Solo. We also have classic fixed frame screens. The 3 and 5 series are going to just be that traditional velvet wrapped border, or we have some slimmer profile frames with our Zero Edge Pro as well. So the 3 and 5 series, again, kind of that traditional velvet wrapped frame you're used to seeing. Or if you want something that has a little more of an LCD look and feel, the Zero Edge Pro has some different frame choice sizes. There's also LED light kits if you want it in a lobby or somewhere where you want a little flash. The frame choices are just a little 1/2-inch black frame if you're used to that LCD look and feel, or you do have the 1.5 inch that you can get velvet wrapped, or any of those same 12 color choices or custom colors that you saw with the Solo. So that's really just the quick down and dirty on the screen line. I do want to focus on shades now. I know our friends at Smarter Systems have, I've been in the office a couple months ago, beautiful shades installed there. So if you want to see them in action, of course you can go in and they'll give you a tour regarding the shades. Our indoor shade line
Lisa,
yes,
before you start that, did you see the question in the chat about the screen?
I'm sorry, I don't have that screen up, but if there's
that's
a
okay.
You want to wait till the end, or do you want me to answer it? I'm happy to answer now.
Well, while we're on screens, let's answer
Sure.
it real quick. He says, let's see, we're working on a high-end portable outdoor projection system. It'd be a pop-up setup. Have you had success with mobile light rejecting screens in that setting? Is durability a concern with your product?
So a couple things. One is that we don't have kind of a fast fold pop-up screen. What I would recommend in that scenario is doing the little Solo screen that you can easily move around, the one with the slim little case. But as far as it being outside, you can do the ALR stuff outside. You just can't, you don't want it sitting outside 24/7. If it's under an overhang, we've got some beautiful installs that are outdoors, but they're covered. Now, if you were just temporarily going to set up a screen with a tripod or something, you could for sure do that, but you wouldn't want it to get rained on, all of that. Now, we do have an because we do shades. We're going to talk today about our indoor shades, but we do have outdoor shades. So if you need a screen that is outdoor rated, the material, the case itself, it won't be a traditional screen material, but there are many of our fabric choices that you can project onto, and we have people doing that. So it's not really a pop-up, it would be more of a permanent install, but you do have an option for that. So hopefully I answered your question. If not, let us know and you can shoot some more stuff on the Q&A. Okay, so I will go ahead and touch now on the indoor shade line. That's the Nano line. There is a Nano box and there is a Nano open roll. There's a little more cost effectiveness for the open roll. The big differentiators between really everything that we do on the shade line is the design itself. We have the smallest cases, the smallest rolls in the industry, up to 15 feet wide and 16 feet high. The case itself is just a little under 5 inches square. The smallest ones are just under 3 inches. So depending on your width and your height, they are the smallest cases in the business. We also have the most color choices. So 12 standard color choices, of course, We can always do custom colors. These are available in a wireless or wired solution. Again, we also have the open roll option if you need a little bit more cost-effective solution. The little end caps here will be whatever colors you need. And again, all the same features as far as size, being able to do wireless or wired deployments. There's a couple different box solutions as well. So maybe you're in a scenario like you see here where you need, two different fabric types. You want a blackout shade and a light filtering shade. Our Nano Box Duo is a great option to have dual rolls. Still the smallest boxes in the industry. Lots of color choices, tons of fabric options, and available in wired or wireless. So if you need 2 rolls on one, you can use the Nano Box Duo. We also have coupled shades. So maybe you have an entire wall of shades and you don't want to have to run power to all of them, or you just don't want separate cases everywhere. You can do our coupled box, which means it's going to be one motor that can control up to 4 shades. So depending on how big they are, you can go up to 40 feet wide with one motor. So it's also more cost effective if you have a lot of shades that you're trying to deploy. Of course, this is available in a wired option only, just because they are, one pretty powerful motor to drive everything. But there is low voltage and line voltage options for the coupled boxes. We also have pocket shades. So maybe it's a new installer. You've got a new building that you're going into. The pocket shades are nice because they sit up here in the soffit and you can trim right up to them. The pocket shades are pretty similar, right? You can get them in a duo roll, a single roll, but it just perfectly conceals them once they're retracted. So if you've got more of a contemporary design or someone just doesn't want to see the open roll or the case itself, you can do that additionally up inside the pocket. We do have manual shades. So what we find is if someone has a bunch of shades going into, a facility somewhere, they don't need every single shade sometimes to be energized. Maybe you've got a little break room or, a little bathroom or something where you just don't want to mess with wiring shades. So you can mix and match the manual boxes and the rolls. They've got a nice little custom handle. There's an extension pole if they're really high up, but you do have options for manual as well as the wired and wireless. I also want to talk about a big differentiator, which is light gap. So this is a picture of one of our competitors' shades, and you can see that there's light coming in at the top, and that it's a pretty big box. So every shade is going to have some amount of light gap, but we are revolutionary in the fact that not only are they the smallest boxes, but we even go as far as putting this little wood pile at the top so that it prevents any kind of light bleed around that box. You can see no light bleed at all, smallest cases. Even on the edges here, it is the smallest light gap in the industry. Now, if you're needing full blackout, of course, we do have the option to add these side and windowsill channels. So for full blackout, maybe it's a event center or something where you just need to be able to black it all out. You can match these sill and side channels in any of those 12 colors. So even if your cassette at the top was, black, you could have white to match your woodwork or your trim or whatever your office or your space might be. So, that is the side and sill channels. They're about 2 inches thick. And again, they are powder coated to match. They're beautiful. They're slim, but they give you that full blackout that you might want. I don't want to go too technical in here, but I did want to at least just mention the wired versus the wireless options. So our 485 wired deployment, there's some really unique devices that control that. The Smarter Systems guys have these in their offices. This is our little Janus device. So a lot of wired installs, you have racks and racks of gear for power and control. Janus is beautiful because you have 2 options. This is actually the same device. You're just looking at the front side or the back side. So you can actually have the Smarter guys wire this up for you in whatever way you have wire potentially pulled already. So it can be, dry contact, multi-conductor, or just standard category cables. But this will control up to 8 shades or screens or a mix of 2 from one little RU chassis that fits halfway in the rack. So 16 shades and or screens all controlled from a 1RU chassis. No wall boxes of panels of power everywhere. It's pretty revolutionary. So if you are looking at a wired solution, just know you're going to have a lot of free rack space when you're done once the Smarter Systems guys come in and do it. As far as wireless, we do use Zigbee 3.0, which is not to be confused with the old Zigbee 1.0. This is a full mesh network for communication. So while we do have standard RF wireless screens in the commercial setting, anytime we do wireless, we almost always do the Zigbee deployment because it's so amazing, because you have the ability to not only use our lithium batteries, but they're just low profile and easy to recharge. So they're going to come from the factory with the lithium batteries fully charged. You're going to have up to 500 up or down deployments from a single charge. So if you do the math, it can be 2 years before you need to charge it back up. Where everyone else, it's expensive. You have to replace batteries. It's wasteful. It's time consuming to take them down, replace the batteries. They can be unsightly. It can just be, kind of that traditional time consuming on the ladder, off the ladder, connecting the plugs, climbing down. This is more for, of course, our Smarter Systems folks who have to do this for you. But with our lithium ion batteries, they're easy to recharge. It's a little magnetic, kind of like your iPad. You get it close, you snap it on. In an 8 to 10 hours, it's charged back up. There's a little painter pole attachment in case you have really high up windows where you need to do that. But it's an easy solution compared to so many battery powered shades that are out there. You can charge it once per year. Again, up to 500 up or down deployments. You have a low battery indicator, so you'll know when it's getting low. The Smarter Systems guys can even set up, they've got packages where they can come in and recharge the batteries for you, and do kind of a system package for you so that you never have to mess with these. But to talk a little bit about the Zigbee devices and what do you mean by a mesh network? What does a full two-way communication mean? For those of you who don't know, there are 3 types of Zigbee devices. You have a controller, which you get from us. You have an edge router in each room where you would have your shades. And then the shade itself works as an endpoint. So the controllers, there's a little tower style. We almost always see the Link Pro Z. You can flush mount this. You can put it on a wall in a rack room, whatever you need. But it is mandatory. You do need to have one of our controllers because it's going to communicate with the system. You also have edge routers. So every single room is either going to have a smart plug or a smart wall outlet that will work as your actual edge router. So it's communicating with your main router. And then, of course, the endpoint itself is going to be the actual shade. So it's a pretty amazing way to have full communication all the time. We can even set these up where you can run your Wi-Fi channels. You can scan that. The smarter guys can come in, scan the system, find the channel that has the least amount of traffic, and set up your Zigbee system to work on that channel. Everything's pre-configured before it ships out. But the way Zigbee works is it's a self-healing network, right? So you have a device that goes offline, and it will automatically reroute to one of the edge routers and make sure that you never have any kind of lag. You never have one shade that comes down, one that doesn't because it got disconnected. I can't speak enough about the two-way communication. I will tell you, as an old, AV gal in the industry, I wouldn't even considered a wireless solution in a commercial setting before the Zigbee 3.0 came out. I would just say wired all the way. We love wired. You see, we have some great products for that. But Zigbee, sometimes you just can't get wires there. It's really a robust and amazing solution that's just as robust as a wired solution. It does come with an app as well, so that you can control devices. We work with any third-party device that's out there, everything from Google Home to Crestron, AMX, Control4. We've got drivers for everything, so third-party integration is a snap. But I just think it's an amazing solution. So we'll touch real quick on the fabrics. So as far as your options for fabrics, you do have sunshades. You do have light filtering shades, and you do have blackout shades. Our partners at Smarter Systems do have a nice little demo kit. It doesn't have every fabric sample, but it has the top 20 or 30 of each one of these categories so that you can see, touch, feel. If you're somewhere and you have a fabric you need to match, or you have, something that's not in the book, we are in the little demo kit, we likely have access to it. So we'll just talk real quickly about the different fabric types. Obviously, sunscreens do exactly what you think. They keep the sun out, but you still can see through it. So you don't have the privacy that you might want, but it allows that natural light in and gives you the ability to keep some of that heat out. So that's the sun shades. If you want light filtering, maybe you want something that gives you a little bit of that natural light, but you want some privacy. So it's going to be translucent. It won't be transparent, but you'll be able to have the privacy that you need, but also get some of that natural light in. And then, of course, last is blackout. Maybe you have a facility where you just need full blackout. Maybe it's privacy. Maybe it's just blackout. It, of course, reduces the heat. It gives you complete privacy. And if you want to use those side and window sill channels, again, you can have full blackout with the side and sill channels. Of course, you also have lots and lots of fabric choices. Probably the top ones are going to be Pfeiffer, Mermet. Obviously, we don't manufacture the material itself. We only manufacture everything else, the cases, the technology, all of that. But there's lots and lots of, hundreds of options. So just let us know. The folks at Smarter Systems can bring over the demo kit, show you everything that you need, and help you pick the right specific fabric for yourself. If you are using the dual roller, I just had a client who did a blackout shade with light filtering, and we were able to match the materials so that it looked kind of the same. It's just sometimes it was blacked out and sometimes they had light filtering in. So lots of options. Another thing to just mention is the rolling as well. Standard shades are going to roll off the back of the shade, so they're the closest to the window for the least amount of light bleed. And then reverse roll is going to give you over the top in case you have something that you need to, you got a handle or something like that.